10 random magic cards rated. Welcome to Monday, everybody. How's your week going so far? Hope it's okay. Let's try to make it better. It's going to be Travel Through Caradhras. First card of the day here. I've never read this card in my life. I've actually, I feel like I've read all of the Lord of the Rings and never seen the word Caradhras, but I must be misremembering. It had to have crossed my eyeballs at some point. 6 mana, 5 and a green for a sorcery with Council's Dilemma. Starting with you, each player votes. Each player votes for Redhorn Pass or Mines of Moria. For each Redhorn Pass vote, search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you search your library this way, shuffle. For each Mines of Moria vote, return a card from your yard to your hand, and then exile Travel Through Caradhras. So you get 4 votes on this one. Okay. It was all right. I mean, it costs 6 mana, and it can get you 4 lands, or it can get you 4 cards back from your yard, or it can get you some mix, right? Like 2 and 2, 3 and 1. For 6 mana, it seems like a lot. Sure does seem like a lot for 6 mana. I imagine if you have enough mana, you just draw this off the top, and you already have like 7 lands out, 10 lands out. Your opponents just all vote lands. You know what I mean? But if you want a card back from your yard enough, you'll always just vote for that. So I typically don't like roll dice, flip coins, vote shenanigans. I'm just not a big fan. So I'm not going to look at this. I'm going to try to judge it objectively. I don't like mechanics like this personally. So I'm going to give this like a 3.7, man. I think it's actually just not very good at all. Like the more I look at it, the more I'm like, okay, you get 1 card back from your yard some of the time. Okay, but I don't know. Maybe if you're in Landfall, everybody votes for you to get cards back from your yard, and so it's actually like kind of sometimes better. I don't know. I'm sticking with 3.8. I think it's interesting, but not actually very good. Goblin Spelunkers from Urza's Saga is up next. This is, well, it's also from 7th edition. This is the Urza's Saga one. This is the one I've seen a bunch of times. I kind of like the 7th edition foil. It's only $4. I think it might be worth grabbing. Anyway, this is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 2/2 Gobbo with Mountain Walk. That's all it does. That's all the card does. I'm also pretty familiar with this version for Ravnica City of Guilds, but I've never really put together that these 2 cards are the same card. Goblin Spelunkers, this art, and Goblin Spelunkers, this art. I've seen them both a lot, but I did not associate them with one another. That's fun for me, I guess. This is not good. It's like a 1.8 is what this is. You know, it's got Mountain Walk. It shows up in the sideboard of mono red decks for the mirror match. I don't know. We're also going to look at Straton from Plane Shift here. Another card. I've said this a few times in this series. A card whose art I'm really familiar with. No idea what it does. I completely forgot what this does. 10 mana. But, however, it costs 1 less to play for each basic land type among lands you control. And it's a 5/5 trample. So if you have full domain, it's 5 mana for a 5/5 trample. And that's not great. That's all it does. You gotta do a lot better than that. So I'm gonna give this like a 2.7. 2.74. You know, big stats, but it's just not good. Next is Galvanic Juggernaut from Innistrad here. 4 mana for a 5/5 Juggernaut that attacks each turn with Able. That is what Juggernauts do. Juggernaut does not untap during your untap step. Whoop. Whenever another creature dies, untap Juggernaut. This is not a very good Juggernaut. Let's say. How about Juggernaut on this one? I would Juggernaut play this card, although it is 4 mana for a 5/5. So, you know, it's Juzam Jin stats, I guess. We have to at least point that out, but it's still a massive piece of garbage for the most part. So I'm going to give this I'd actually give this like a 2.8. Again, just based on stats alone, I guess that's fine. I guess it's a 4 mana 5/5. You could do worse, but it's still not like good, you know. Oh, Power Plant. So we've done Urza's lands before. They're very, very good. Library is from Ravnica Clue Edition. We don't have to do this one because we've already done these cards. These lands from the Clue Edition, they're actually okay. Stormtide Leviathan, that's one we haven't done yet. Magic 2011 was the first printing. And it's still about 50 cents. This is 8 mana, 5 and 3 blue for an 8/8 Leviathan with Island Walk. All lands are islands, in addition to their other types, you see. Creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. So that's good. I've always liked Stormtide Leviathan. It's a really neat cube card. But fun for Commander, too. You know, all lands are islands is actually very sick. Doesn't that work really well with Eluge? What exactly? That's just flood counters, right? You only care about flood counters? Am I right about that? Eluge's PT are equal to the number of islands you control whenever it attacks. Put a flood counter on a land. It's an island in addition to its other types. Okay, so it does only care about flood counters, Eluge. But I guess if you're not playing straight up mono blue, then like maybe you play Stormtide in your deck. But if Eluge is your commander, you are playing mono blue. Still think it could be good. I still think it could be pretty good because you're playing like colorless lands too in your deck. Like this makes them islands. It's like an Urborg, right? It's like an Urborg, but for islands. That's got to be good for something. It's effectively unblockable because, you know, all your opponents control islands. One would assume, unless Armageddon was recently cast. Everyone controls an island. And then also this line of text. This is the good line of text. Moat. This is basically a moat in a way. Although I don't know if I don't think moat lets island walk dudes attack. It's just like creatures without flying. Or creatures with flying. So... yeah, that's gross. All in all, my analysis is that this card is gross. A little bit too expensive, obviously, but all of its text is good. So I'm going to give this the honorary 5 of the day. Actually, I don't have to do that. I don't have to give this no honorary 5. No, I don't. Stormtide Leviathan's like a 5.4. 5.5 even. 5.5 for Stormtide, man. This is still a played card. In some cases, but I remember a time when it's all more play. Apothecary White is up next from Clue. We can't escape Clue today. It's still like $1. So what do you do? Something about a food token. I know that much. 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 3/4 human cleric with vigilance. Whenever you attack, you create a food token for each player being attacked. You can also pay a white and tapper. Tap X untap foods you control to create X 1/1 white human creature token. Okay, all right. So. Okay, it's not bad in food. It's not bad in food. It's really not. A single white mana to do the activated ability is really inexpensive. Really inexpensive. How hard is it to get like 5 or 6 foods? Or more? And you're just making a bunch of guys every turn? I don't know. I like this. I like this. I don't know about it being the commander or anything, but like in the 99 of a food deck. I think it's pretty good. I also like her outfit. For what that's worth, a cool outfit. It looks very Orzhov to me, right? But I don't know. All right, you get I mean, the first line of text is okay. You get a couple of food tokens, maybe 1 food when you attack. Sometimes a couple more, depending on if you're attacking everyone. I wouldn't recommend it, but still, man, she can attack and use her ability too. That's cute. That's cool. She can use her ability anytime as well. It's instant speed ability. I don't know. I kind of like this. 5.23. 5.23 for Apothecary White over here. Only good in food decks, right? But like, I think it's pretty good. I'm always looking for something to do with food, and like this is pretty good. But next is Island. All lands get a 5. They don't count, or all basics get a 5. They don't count. But I do like this art by Mauricio Calais here. It's nice. Next is guys, it's Island Sanctuary. Now, what is the Oracle text on this card nowadays? Let's read the old one first. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for an enchantment. You may decline to draw a card from your library during your draw phase. In exchange, until start of your next turn, only creatures that may attack you are those that fly or have island walk. So how does that read nowadays? If you would draw a card during your draw step, instead you may skip that draw. If you do, until your next turn, you can't be attacked except by creatures with flying and or island walk. Okay, so by the way, yeah, it's the same. It's weird that we got the Leviathan and this Stormtide in the same video. That's kind of wild when you think about it. I really like Island Sanctuary. This is a cause of a lot of stress back in the day for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's really annoying to play against. That's the main reason. And also, you'll notice that the Pegasus here is off center, and it's always destroyed my OCD. No, you'd think that the Pegasus would be centered, but it isn't. It's not. See, there's so much space over here next to the right wing and no space next to the left wing. It's killing me. It's killing me that it's like that. In any case, now I'm just toying with what looks better, revised or unlimited. I think in this case, actually revised looks a little bit better. But Yeah, this comboed with Howling Mine, which lets everyone draw an extra card during their draw steps, opponents included, but yourself included. So it basically means that they can't attack you. You remove any flyers or, God forbid, Island Wall, guys. You probably don't have to worry about that. Just remove any flyers that they might play, counter any attempt to remove your Island Sanctuary. And then they're drawing more cards than you every turn. You still get a draw step. You still get to play the game of Magic. You draw a card every turn off your Howling Mine. You just skip one of those draws, right? And, nowadays we have other ways of doing it too, other ways of drawing cards. This deck too had essential recall, brainstorm and stuff. So the deck could draw cards, but long story short, they don't get to attack you ever again. And they slowly run themselves out of cards because they're drawing more cards than you. It's a horrible experience for whoever's facing off against it, and a wonderful experience for anybody playing with it. Oftentimes, this process would be sped up by Millstone. This was a real deck back in the day that I have both fond and terrifying, horrible memories of, depending on which one of us is shuffling the cards, right? Me or my friends. So I love Island Sanctuary. I will actually give this like a 6.5. And I'm doing that because this is mostly a casual Commander rating. And I actually think that more people need to look at Island Sanctuary and Commander because, like I just said, we have more ways than just Howling Mine to draw extra cards guaranteed every single turn nowadays. So I'm not sure the lock is as good as it used to be when you're up against three people all trying to remove your Island Sanctuary, but I still think that it buys you a lot of time, and if you can get counterspell shields up, or like that new room from Dustmourne that gives all of your other permanents hexproof, like things like that can really help out your Sanctuary. There's a green-white enchantment that I really should remember the name of now, but it gives like all your other enchantments hexproof. Why can't I remember it? Sterling Grove or something like that. That goes really well, right? So all I'm saying is, taking a look at Island Sanctuary, it's a ridiculous Magic card. It's so good. But anyway, we got to move on here to Test of Talent. I remember you from Strixhaven, School of Mages. This is 2 mana, 1 on a blue for an instant. Counter target instant or sorcery. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that spell and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand in this manner. So, the typical go get a bunch of their cards and take them out of their deck. And then I guess if you hit one of the cards in their hand, they draw. That's pretty typical of this effect too. But this can just completely neuter all kinds of decks, combo decks and stuff like that. The occasional control deck, this will just completely, kneecap. So very, very good counterspell in a lot of ways. In Commander, you don't have to worry about it too much because, they don't have extra copies of the spell in their deck. It's Commander. Right. But I still think this is a very, very good, pseudo negate that, again, out of the sideboard is just going to completely lay waste to certain decks. So I'm going to give this a 6.3 all in all. I think it's phenomenal. Just what a card. Final card of the day is Mace the Valiant over here from Throne of Eldraine. Not the best 3 mana white equipment from Throne, but it's pretty good. It's 3 mana, 2 and a white for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Mace and also has Vigilance. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a charge counter on Mace. You can also equip this for 3 mana. So 6 mana to get entirely equipped, right? Cool thing is it gets charge counters whether, the creature, it's equipped to a creature or not. So just dudes are coming into play, you're getting charge counters on it. Really sick with like Oketra's Monument or like anything that puts a bunch of dudes into play on your side, tokens and stuff like that. So if you have a pretty steady stream of things that can do that, then obviously Mace is going to have like 15 charge counters on it like pretty easily, And you're not going to mind the fact that it costs 3 to equip, but it is pretty slow to kind of get going, and it takes multiple turns to really get enough charge counters to where it makes a difference. So I like Mace, but I'm still just going to give it like a 4.49, something like that, because I think that it does require a lot of sort of finesse, a lot of time and effort to get it going. And when one disenchant blows up all that effort, you're going to feel bad, But that is all for Monday. Hope you had a good one, and I'll see you again bright and early tomorrow. Bye, everybody.